Hey, beautiful souls. This is my first podcast episode from the road, from our new life of living in the world, traveling, being nomadic, you might call it. If you listen to my last episode or the one before the last one, you know that we left the United States and we've been traveling. Now, by traveling, I mean we're living in another country and we are going to live in other countries as well. Move as spirit moves us. Go where we are called. Be in a state of adventure and exploration and, of course, discovery, because with those things comes the finding of new aspects of self, the discovery of a new culture, let's say, will trigger aspects within of your own personal culture. Things that maybe you had become familiar with and were so known to you, like the language that you speak, for example, or the foods that you eat, or the customs of your culture. Those things we get very used to over time because that's just what happens. We live in a specific way, conditioned to specific conditions. And then, of course, we become very used to and very familiar with those conditions. So today I want to talk about the beauty of mystery. So much of what mysticism is being in a state of awe with the mystery that is this life, that is this experience of being a soul in a human body, of being divine incarnate. When we live here in this experience, it is an unfolding of this mystery. And being a mystic means that we are in that unfolding. We are going forth in that experience. And then we're also in awe of that experience, the beauty that we discover, the discovery of all of what we find as we move through life in this way. When you choose to live a everyday mystic life, you are choosing to see God in everything, including yourself, and choosing to live in the mystery of not knowing what every new experience is going to behold for you, not knowing what's around every corner, not what it is we're doing here necessarily, but finding joy and having an amazing time with the unfolding of that mystery, being in awe of living into that experience of understanding what it feels like to be the divine looking out through your eyes, being the divine moving through this world and interacting with all of your experiences. You don't have to leave your country of origin or your neighborhood necessarily to experience all of this. You can absolutely be in awe of your toaster, of your flower bed that you planted this spring, of anything around you, looking into the eyes of your child, being in a state of awe, being in a understanding of yourself as divine doesn't happen because you leave the familiar, but it's enhanced by it. When we live in a state of routine and within our confines, if you will, we tend to get lazy. We tend to get very comfortable in that human life. Our ego is very much at peace or in a state of comfort or familiarity with those conditions. So we create conditions that give our ego that boost that it needs, or gives our ego or our mind the comfort that it needs to feel safe. Those things are wonderful on the one hand as a human, but can be very confining as a soul and can lead to so many of the things that so many of our human friends are experiencing. Things like melancholy, malaise, depression, anxiety, disease, stress. And I don't mean having a stressor on you, because we all experience stressors here. right? Something not working out, needing to figure something out, the stress of the weather and nature around us. We experience stressors. When I say stress, I mean the condition of stress, the condition of you not being able to process a stressor in a way that allows it to move through your nervous system, and where you don't just hold it in your nervous system and become then therefore a stressed individual that leads to so many stress conditions that are a plague on our human civilization. Most diseases are diseases of civilization, where we're actually making ourselves sick by saying yes to and accepting the confines of that familiarity, of that which once was a good thing for us to feel safe, but then has become your own prison. The beautiful thing to know and to remember is that you have the keys to that prison. You aren't really in one unless you think you are, unless you are conditioned enough, asleep to the fact that you are this divine being, this soul in a body, this person who has the keys to the prison. So it's easy for us to get conditioned and programmed into that state. And really, that's what most of societal living or civilization living leads you into. It leads you into that state of acceptance of those conditions that trade for you a feeling of safety and accomplishment and good on ya and success, but in trade for a sense of peace and harmony, a sense of true joy, not just fleeting happiness, a sense of deep meaning, not just the meaning that's derived from some sort of external accomplishment. We are given experiences within that conditioned realm that feel good enough, that are good enough for the ego. And so the ego, wanting that comfort and safety, stays within that familiar and very comfortable set of conditions, whether that's living in the place you've always lived or staying in the job you've always been in or being in that relationship that you've always had or whatever the condition is. And nothing's wrong with staying in those conditions or within the confines of those conditions if that is bringing you joy and a deep sense of meaning and fulfillment and purpose. And if those things are allowing you to be within the true nature of yourself as this beautiful soul here to co-create with creation itself and to live in the magic of that. If the conditions that you are currently in, which have been the same for as long as you know, are deriving that for you, you've arrived. That's incredible. But what happens for most people is that those conditions are what they have always known. They just kind of showed up there. They arrived in those conditions. Let's say the family you were born into, the state you were born into, the country that you were born into, the conditions of your socioeconomic, cultural conditions that you were born into, all of those things. We just arrive in those as a human. But if your soul is calling you, beckoning you, is sometimes screaming out to you to have new conditions, or that you don't even know what the new conditions are, but you know that this isn't it. And the way that we know that is through the deep feeling in our body. This isn't right. There's more for me. This can't be all that is. If any of those questions have popped up out of nowhere, they've come in from somewhere else, then that's your soul calling out to you to look for and discover that thing that is different, that is not this routine, this familiarity, this thing that you have just sort of found yourself in. And your soul then calls you out to discover what is here for me as a soul in this human experience to have, to be, to interact with, to learn. We come here to learn. We come here to have the experience of being in a body and to have this sensory experience of what it feels like to be constricted and to be individuated and to be in a state of awe of what has been created here. And we create from there. We create with that, and we get to be part of that energy. That's why an artist can be seen as someone living into the purpose of their soul, or they're following their soul's calling, even though it might be very difficult to make money as an artist or to become known in the world as an artist. And by artist, that could be anybody creating anything, whether it's a painting, a sculpture, or a table, or something that they craft themselves. That could be a book and a set of writings. It could be something, anything that you choose to create that you know is part of your divine mission here to create. There doesn't need to be a greater purpose for all of humanity than that it feels right for you, that it is what your soul is here to experience. That's enough of a purpose. When a lot of people think of purpose, they do think of something that you're doing for other people, right? A lot of people think, oh, your purpose is the vocation or the job that you find yourself in. And then spiritual people will think, oh, your purpose is this grand thing for humanity that you're going to do to help others awaken or see or become or be their true selves. Your purpose is nothing grand like that. Your purpose literally is to understand yourself as soul and to fully align and connect to yourself as soul who is one with source and live from that place. Your mission could be different. Your mission could be that, yes, you're here to do something incredible for humanity, or to create something specific, or to have a certain set of activities and experiences and know and learn from that. And we connect into all of this by listening and by removing ourselves sometimes from those conditions that make it really hard to listen. Because the confines of our conditioned places, spaces, and circumstances do enough for our ego mind to satiate it, to give us a sense of, oh, this is good enough, so that we don't question outside of that, outside of those norms and that conditioning, which is fed to us by a civilization, a society that would rather have us be in that state of you are feeling like things are good enough. So you're not going to go out and question too much about this realm, or about the power that you have within you, or about what it is you really can create, or break free from a set of conditions that is feeding a system, but that isn't feeding you. And even more than not feeding you, it's depleting you. If you feel depleted, drained by life, then you're not living what you're truly here to live. Because when you are aligned as your soul, connected to all that is, you are living from an energy realm. It is like being a rechargeable battery, that you are charged by the system in which you live in, because you are fully aligned to the understanding of that system. And by that system, I mean the greater system, the system of us as these energetic beings or souls that are here in this body, but connected to so much else. And then there is the system of ourselves as a human within a human system that can be very depleting, because we're not tapped in and connected up to source. We are blocked from source. We are disconnected from God. We are removed from the acceptance or the knowing or being tapped into ourselves as an energetic being, a being that is and has a full set of resources beyond just what it is we create as a human being. You might think that all that feeds us is the food and water that we have here on earth, or the money that you make. Maybe you go beyond that and say, oh, I'm also fed by the love that I get from my spouse and my children. or my pets. Those things also are feeding and getting closer to that understanding of us being fed by existence, being fed by divinity. When we can understand and be accepting of being fed and nurtured and energized by something we can't touch, like the love that we have between us and another, then you're closer to the understanding of what it feels like to be in that divine connection with all that is. All we're doing is moving into and expanding our understanding of love as not just being something that is experienced between you and another human, or you and a pet, or you and a tree. But as we expand out into understanding that love, that frequency of love is our natural state, is the state that we are without the conditions and the confines and the programs and the human systems that have been foisted on us, that we are that we are that love. And we are that love that is the love that created all of this that we're experiencing, the creation of this planet and this human experience, every flower and mineral and animal and cloud and us. All of it was created out of love. Love in a sense of adventure, in a sense of exploration. We're adventurers here. We are soul explorers here to have an incredible experience. To live fully in every moment of that is you being in deep gratitude for the experience. Even the things that happen to us that don't feel good, that are hurtful, harmful, abusive, scary, devastating, all of those things which are part of this human experience can also be experienced differently when we are in acceptance, or when we are in the knowing of ourselves being here on this grand adventure, being soul explorers here to have those experiences and then understand something else about ourselves as this human soul hybrid, or of others experiencing this, being able to then vibrate on a different frequency and ultimately get back to that ultimate frequency of love. Now, that word love is the word that we use to give to that ultimate frequency of our soul in complete harmony with source. It can be misconstrued because we have, of course, the romantic or even lustful version of what love is in our minds, but it's the closest word we can use to describe that union of us and all that is, with us and source, us and God. It's the vibration of that frequency that we then get into and harmonize with, that we then live from, that allows us to have the life of our dreams, live within a state of magic, be in a state of awe all the time that is and feels like the awe of a child. If you have a child, you've seen what that is like in them. The spark in their eyes, the joy in their bodies, the uninhibited laughter. That experience is what we all can continue to have and be and live from when we remember that we are that divine spark, that we are that emanation of God, that we are the light in the universe here, just compacted and living from this body that we're in. And when we experience the darkness, that is the contrast of that light that we are, we get to experience what it feels like to rediscover our light and to find ourselves back in it and go, oh, that's what it feels like. That's what I am. That's what this is. This is this adventure of discovering that and being in that state and finding that frequency again. So when we get to live from that frequency, we get to experience so much more than the melancholy, malaise, depression, anxiety, stress, discomfort, disease that you may be experiencing or may have continued, over time to experience again and again. We get to live from a state of being more, again, human words, hard sometimes to, I want to say control, but that has so many connotations too. It's not control in a rigid sense of, oh, I'm controlling every single variable of my life. It's that you are the one driving the state and the conditions in which you live, not just the things that we find out here in our external world, but it being operated from within so that you get to create more from you that which you want because you are creating it from within rather than the other way around, which is how most of us were raised and believe that life is that we get to respond to the conditions out here external from us, and then we get to feel happy or we get to feel sad or we get to be depressed or we get to be sick or we get to be in health because of those things outside of us being what affects or impacts us here internally. It's actually the opposite. We are creating our external conditions, our life from within. And I don't mean that we're moving through this world and it's just this set of pixels that we're creating the external environment and everything outside of us, but just by thinking it. I don't mean that. I mean that living from our inner being, living from the understanding of ourselves as soul, living from our inner state and being able then to think things into reality, feel things into reality. It means that that's where it begins. But we take action as a physical being to then allow that to come into being. So just sitting around thinking a thought isn't necessarily going to make that thing appear in your life. We take certain actions that then allow ourselves to find that. We're our own guidance system. So it's not that when I say co-creators of this universe and that we're co-creating everything here, I don't mean that you are the sole being that is manifesting this computer in front of you or this patio or this tree or this earth or this planet or this experience. It's that we're co-creating how we live in that experience, how we respond to it, and therefore how we feel and what we receive and what we get to have within it. That is an endless set of possibilities of what we could experience here in this realm. So your co-creative energy ability is to have the set of possibilities that you want, is to be able to manifest those possibilities in which you think and then calibrate through your feeling and then go out and get. It's active. It is you moving through the world as this hybrid soul, light, human being. So back to creating a set of conditions then that allow you to break free from the confines of your conditioning. Certainly one of those ways could be going on a retreat that breaks you out of those norms that you live in, the commute to work or the logging onto your computer every morning at 8 a.m. and saying hi to your boss, click, 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 and working in Zoom meetings all day, or taking the same route to bring your child to daycare, or going to the same grocery store every week to get your groceries. Those routines become these ruts that we can, as I said earlier, fall into and forget that we're in, rather than them being sparks for you to remember who you really are. So that's why people seek novel experiences, because it awakens who they really are, the soul within, the light that's shining through them. It awakens that in some way, even if they're unsure or don't know that that's what's happening. Some people think, oh, you go on vacation just to get drunk, or because you're so stressed, you need a vacation, or whatever it might be. That might be true on the human sense, but it's also because people are seeking something different in their experience because they feel so confined. They feel the walls of that prison and they want to so badly break free from them for a week and go on this cruise or go to this beach or go on this vacation and just break free. And that can be a beautiful way. It could be that week retreat that you go and do, and that you just break out of that normal set of conditions for that said time. The more consciously we're doing this, the more that we're doing this with intention, the more that we then can use that experience to actually make real changes in our life, to actually move out of discomfort, dis-ease, melancholy, to move out of those things and realize ourselves as different than that person who sits in that desk chair every day, or that person that has their specific routes that they drive every day. You might then enter back into those places, those scenarios, and feel like you're seeing them with different eyes, that you're a different version of you experiencing that same thing. And that's when the realizations really start to happen, that you're more than who sits in that chair and does that work, or you're more than that person who you thought you were. You are a living, breathing emanation of the divine itself, that you are this being that can evolve. And then as you do, you get to experience the vastness of this life, the mystery and beauty and awe of this place. So that could happen just from one retreat that you go on that is done with intention and consciousness for that expansion. You might then, after the retreat, decide, you know what? This set of conditions that I've come back to, yes, I'm feeling and seeing it and experiencing it as a new version of me and through different eyes. And now maybe I want to change some of this. Maybe this is not enough for me. That good enough that was good enough before is not good enough anymore. And that's when we start to live differently. Maybe you start to eat differently, move differently, feel differently, interact with people differently. Maybe you start to change some of those external conditions because now you're starting to hear yourself and you're starting to connect into your soul that's calling you to say, hello, these set of conditions aren't what you're here and meant to be in. You're here for more, or you're here for different. It doesn't need to be more as in better, but just different for you. There's no hierarchy of experience here. Like what we just chosen to go do, myself and my family, this isn't better than somebody who is living in the same place that they've always lived all along. It's just different. And it's what my and my husband's soul called us to do. What's your soul calling you to do? Are you even listening to that? If you don't know how to listen to that, all you need to do, and this is the easiest but also hardest thing to do, is to sit in stillness or even walk in a place of nature that is quiet, that allows you to quiet your mind. Anything you can do to just quiet the mind. That's why meditation is so powerful, because it allows you to quiet your mind, but then also to get into a relationship with your inner knowing that's not very quiet. That isn't just this silent, it is an abundant source of inspiration and knowing and thoughts and ideas and information that comes to you and through you from source. But we tap into that by quieting the mind and by getting still and by being in silence. So whatever you can do to get into that silence will connect you into the ability to listen more deeply to your soul. And from that place, we get to hear differently. We get to experience life from that inside out place to where we actually get to live in what we call, or what we will often say is magic. I don't mean magic in, potions and brews and incantations. I mean magic from being able to actually create the set of circumstances, whether that's a feeling or a thought or a state of conditions that you've created around you, and you've brought that into being through the very action of your own stillness, of your own listening, of your own tapping in and tuning into source, of your own visualization, and therefore your creative process coming online to create all that you wish to experience. Are you also going to experience things that you don't necessarily want to experience, or that are surprises to you, or that come out of left field and that are something you didn't wish for, ask for? Absolutely. Those are the conditions of this game that we then use that within ourselves to go, okay, what is it about that that's showing me something that I've been ignoring? That's giving me some tools and information that I didn't have, because maybe I was going to sleep again. Maybe I was getting complacent again. Maybe I was getting stuck in that deep rut. Because once you're in the rut, you don't know you're in it. You don't know you're the bird in the cage until maybe you see the other birds out there and you're like, wait a minute, what are those guys doing out there, flying around free and with ease and with no boundaries? Until you expose yourself or are exposed to that knowing that there is more, you don't necessarily know that you're the bird in the cage or the fish in the fishbowl. You think that that is all that exists. So I hope that this podcast becomes a way for you to see the birds that are flying outside of your cage that are, wait a minute, what's out there? Why am I in here in these walls? I hope that every episode, every transmission is you seeing another bird or butterfly or beautiful sea creature free out in the ocean that inspires you to say, how can I be more free? How can I live more in conjunction with source and my creative abilities? How can I be more in the frequency of love? If this episode or any of my episodes has given you that question to ask yourself and has opened your own heart and your own soul up to discovering more and going deeper on your journey, and it's been helpful to you in any way, I would love for you to leave comments, leave a review. Those things are really helpful in this human construct for this podcast to be received by more people. So I would love for you to leave one of those and connect to us more deeply. Go to theeverydaymystic.org. We have a free membership that you can sign up for. And through that, you get advanced teachings. You get second parts of these podcast conversations where we go deeper with our guests. You get practices and prompts, resources, and a whole set of exclusive offerings that are only for our members for you to take this journey in a deeper way, to truly live as an everyday mystic, to enhance your current life. You don't have to completely change all things about your life. You can just see it differently, live it, and experience it differently by going deeper. So go to theeverydaymystic.org/join if you want to join our membership. Check out the other things that we have to offer and have a beautiful, blessed, and incredible day. Don't forget that you're here to have that is absolutely yours by birthright, to have that joyous, wonder-filled, awestruck, incredible, beautiful day. So I hope you go and have that, my friends, and we'll see you next time.